Hey, Lexi here and the Better Business Podcast. I thought I'd change the format a little bit because it's all good and well going into specifics of business, specific problems, marketing, and sales. But I think the best way to really address a lot of the problems that we're facing as business owners or entrepreneurs is to actually look into stories, real stories that help us understand certain things like quality, which is what I wanted to talk about. Now, I think in any business, quality is one of the top aspects as to why customers would choose us. If the product that you're selling isn't that great, quality is by far the decisive point. You know, if people don't experience quality that they expect or something that impresses them, they'll go elsewhere. They don't come back to buy your products. So, the story I wanted to share with you is about the founder of Sony, Akio Morita. Now, this gentleman has obviously done quite a lot. And until today, I think Sony is still recognized as one of the top brands in electronics specifically. I think Sony has done a lot of great products like, the Walkmans back in the day, and ATVs are still considered some of the best. Now, in 1970s, IKEA was invited to Soviet Union, where they specifically wanted to get this guy to help them revolutionize and help them with innovation of the actual Soviet products. And the interesting part is that despite the fact that he had a very warm welcome, he declined. He said that, look, I'm sorry, but your technology is about 8 to 10 years old. Your workers are uninterested. Your approach to innovation and everything has not showed itself to work towards quality. So the quality is very mediocre, and this isn't something that is acceptable for me. Now, he drew the parallel that the Soviets have imported Fiat, which is now obviously the Lada, the beginning of Lada, which was in the 60s, where they've pretty much taken a factory from Italy, brought it in, and created what's called the Lada Vaz 2101 to be specific. Now, this car has then been produced until about 2005, quite surprisingly, within about the same format as it's been brought in, showing a complete lack of innovation. So Akio Morita was quite right about the whole thing, and he didn't want Sony to become like that. So the Chinese have tried to pitch him as well, and has been to China in the 70s with exactly the same outcome. He declined. Now, in 1996, Sony has started exploring avenues to minimize their costs while maintaining the quality. And China has proved itself to be one of those countries that continuously made things better. Made in China back in the past used to associate with lack of quality, and a lot of people just wouldn't trust it. And back then there were a lot of different alternatives. Things made in the USA, things made in Korea, made in other places. And bear with me that Korea was not really the place that is right now either. So he declined, and then they really started looking into using China, and Sony China was established in 1990. Now, sorry, in 1996 to be specific. Now, they basically started initially with lithium polymers. They basically built a plant in China there. And overall, they began constructing things there around 2000, which was after passing of the founder Akio Morita, which happened in October of 1999. So the founder stood very strong with his foundations and how he looked at quality. However, if you look at the Lada, a bit of a fail story there, and China as to how they progressed as a whole country towards quality. In the end, Sony ended up producing the majority of their stuff in China, but that happened in mid 2000. So it's taken really a while. And if you think back, just 25 years ago, China was still associated with second tier brand, where there was not a lot of trust towards what they were doing and how they were doing it, most importantly. Whereas now, if you look at Chinese made products, they account for about 90% of all the electronics that are made that are actually brought to the US. So 90% of the market. And they probably account for more than 70% of all the world electronics as well. Think about that for a moment. Now, we are talking about big brands like, LG, and we're talking about other brands that are, brought to China as well for production, based on the fact that these guys are continuously innovating. They are looking into things from the perspective of quality. They're looking in the perspective of innovation. So, look, why am I telling you all this? I think that, in stories like that, you can clearly see that there's got to be an innovation to the actual business, to the actual approach to the country, if you want. Most importantly, people's approach to making sure they understand what quality is all about. And I think in today's world, especially as small business owners, we're struggling with staff. We're always trying to work harder. We're trying to push ourselves and work longer hours. We always strive for quality. And at the end of the day, it's a very manual process. But if you look into companies like Sony and what they've done, is they've invested in a lot of innovation and automation over the years as well. And I think it's a smarter approach to make sure that you can minimize costs, reduce errors, and keep quality consistent. And that is why, if you look into the pricing of TVs, over time, they come down while new ones are being developed. So there's a whole market strategy. So I guess with businesses like, I don't know, dog grooming or plumbing or electrical and stuff, or cleaning and so on, why is it that at the moment a lot of businesses are not using innovation and technology? Well, some are, I guess, but overall it's not widely used. I mean, there are many different products that allow you to automate some of the processes and potentially implement things like robots. Let's say if we're talking about domestic cleaning, there's robot vacuums, there's robots that do mowing and whatnot. There's a lot of different products. And if you think about the investment part and the actual outcome as to how much time it saves you and how it allows you to focus on other things to really provide the quality that the customer is after, you can potentially generate far better revenue model for your business, and you can calculate the efficiency yourself. But with a very basic prognosis, I could see a 20 to 30% increase in effectiveness across things like cleaning, for example. And overall, I think it's just something that allows you to avoid some of the human error. It avoids basic things that require thorough approach. And I think if you're not using things like AI in your business right now, for example, for things like, I don't know, emails, or for things like automation of certain products, like let's say SMS confirmations for appointments is one thing, then I think you're really missing out. There's just a lot of gaps that can really be done with very simple technology, and some innovation over time really becomes a norm. It becomes the norm. It's a thing that everybody expects. To make an appointment to see a dentist these days, a lot of dental systems will send you a reminder, the day before, or sometime before that, or they would confirm some important parts like a change of your appointment and whatnot as well. So this is how innovation really fits into the market. And I hope this story about the founder of Sony has given you some thoughts as to what happens and how it basically happens, in an environment of a big business, a country, or potentially, what it can do for a small business like that. Anyway, my name is Alexei. This is Better Business Podcast. Hope you find this stuff useful. Share it with your friends or tell them this story. I think it's, worth noting, and make sure that your business doesn't stay like this long. So have a good one, and I'll chat to you soon.